Exploring the world by transportation. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a curious young girl named Alice who had always dreamed of exploring the world. She lived in a small village nestled in the heart of a lush green forest, and while she loved her home, she longed to see what was beyond the trees and the rolling hills that surrounded her. One day, Alice decided that she would no longer wait for adventure to come to her. She was determined to see as much of the world as she could, and she knew that the best way to do that was by using all sorts of different modes of transportation. First, Alice packed a small bag with all the essentials she would need for her journey: a map, a compass, a flashlight, a canteen of water, and a few snacks. Then, she set off on foot, following a winding path through the forest that she had never taken before. As she walked, Alice marveled at the sights and sounds of the forest. She saw colorful birds flitting from branch to branch, heard the rustling of leaves as small animals scurried through the underbrush, and breathed in the fresh, clean air. After a few hours of walking, Alice reached the edge of the forest and found herself standing in a wide open field. She looked around and saw that the field stretched out as far as the eye could see, with rolling hills in the distance and a bright blue sky overhead. Alice felt a surge of excitement wash over her. She had never been so far from home before, and she couldn't wait to see what else the world had in store for her. She set off across the field, her feet pounding the grassy earth as she ran. She felt the wind rushing through her hair and the sun warm on her face, and she knew that this was only the beginning of her great adventure. As the sun began to set, Alice realized that she needed to find a place to rest for the night. She looked around and saw a small pond off in the distance, surrounded by tall trees. She made her way over to the pond and settled down under a tree to rest. As she drifted off to sleep, Alice dreamed of all the different modes of transportation she would use on her journey. She would ride a horse through rolling fields, sail the open seas on a tall ship, and even fly through the air in a hot air balloon. The next morning, Alice set off again, determined to cover as much ground as she could. She walked for hours, taking in all the sights and sounds of the world around her. As the day wore on, Alice began to get tired. She had been walking for so long that her feet ached and her stomach was growling with hunger. She knew she needed to find a way to get to her destination faster. That's when she spotted it, a small, battered bicycle leaning against a tree at the side of the road. Without hesitation, Alice grabbed the bike and hopped on. She pedaled as fast as she could, the wind rushing through her hair as she flew down the road. As the miles flew by, Alice realized that this was her new favorite mode of transportation. She could go so much faster on the bike than she could on foot, and it was so much more fun. She rode for hours, taking in all the sights and sounds of the world around her. Eventually, Alice reached a bustling town. She was so excited to see all the different people and places that she had only ever heard about. She rode her bike through the crowded streets, taking in all the sights and sounds of the town. It was like the dream come true. The end. Please support our channel and press like, subscribe and bell icon.